Well, hello, Canada. I'm in Florida right now, and I have donned my, super secret agent attire. So I'm blending in with the locals while I'm on my mission here. My mission is golf. I'm going to go golfing. That's why I'm here. Just because I'm in a different country, though, doesn't mean that I'm not paying attention to the news back home in Canada. Just on Monday morning, I read an interesting article on the CBC, and that's not snark. It was a good article. It was by Murray Brewster. He's the defense and security reporter for the CBC. And he was writing about how the situation in Ukraine, but also the situation more generally, like the world we live in now that the Ukraine thing has gone weird, is perhaps going to force Canada to abandon its image as a peacekeeping nation. We might actually now have to start getting our hands dirty again. And, I don't disagree with a single thing that Murray wrote, and nothing I say here should be seen as a criticism of him, because I think his report was correct and it was accurate. But it brought to mind something I've written about many, many times here at the Post, at other places. I've talked about it on TV and the radio. We're not a peacekeeping nation. We never have been. Peacekeeping nation is some weird marketing slogan that came out of the Ottawa bureaucracy a couple of decades ago. Actually, more than that, maybe 30 years ago. And it stuck because it was a good piece of marketing. But it's false. It's just not true. Canada has never been a peacekeeping nation. Now, we have obviously contributed to peacekeeping missions. We have at times contributed disproportionately to peacekeeping missions. And when we have done so, we have generally been able to do pretty good work. However, the entire time we've been doing it, our peacekeeping efforts have been by diverting a small portion of our military capability into fulfilling a role that they are capable of fulfilling but really aren't designed to do. We're good at that because despite all the problems we have in this country with broken procurement and political neglect and underfunding, and our units are under strength, the personnel of the Canadian Armed Forces are generally very good. If we ask them to go do a difficult mission, they'll do it. So they can do peacekeeping. And they have done peacekeeping. There are many, many proud examples of strong Canadian contributions to peacekeeping, from the very origins of peacekeeping at the Suez Crisis right through up until the relatively recent Canadian contribution to Mali. But let's not confuse ourselves here. The overwhelming purpose of the Canadian Armed Forces throughout its history has either been to contribute to combat operations or to be ready to contribute to combat operations. Peacekeeping is something that we have done and done well, but it has never actually been the primary mission of our armed forces. It has been something that our governments have embraced, and mostly liberal governments, not exclusively, but mostly, for two reasons. First of all, like I said, it's good marketing. World needs more Canada. Blue berets with maple leaves on their shoulders. Look at us, the righteous nation helping out the troubled places of the earth, so on and so forth. It really, really aligns with a certain vision of Canada's role in the world. Again, mostly but not exclusively the liberal vision. The other, more cynical reason is that peacekeeping, embracing our role as a peacekeeping nation, even though we've never actually done that, has allowed us to rationalize our neglect of the armed forces. Anything that wasn't going to be obviously useful for, a 1,500 man rotation in some UN mission in the developing world, you could go, well, we don't need that. We're a peacekeeping nation. The more the Canadian public bought into the myth, and it was always a myth, that our military was largely a peacekeeping force, the easier it became to neglect and underfund it, because the tools needed for a traditional peacekeeping mission, not a peacemaking mission, were not the same as the ones that we would need in Eastern Europe today. From the World Wars through Korea, the Cold War, Afghanistan, the many deployments we took in support of NATO throughout the standoff with the Soviet Union, the Canadian Armed Forces has always been a fighting force first. We have not trained it properly, we have not equipped it properly, and more importantly, we have never contextualized it properly. Peacekeeping is something that the military can do. Canada as a peacekeeping nation is a myth that our politicians did to us, and we the people bought into it. If anything, we don't need to change the reality. We just need to get over our little self-delusions.